Starting the stream now.
So aye.
Aye.
Aye. Was purple.
What was?
I don't know.
It was purple.
Don't
Yes.
expect sense.
Uh-huh.
See, this is the bit when we go live in the pre-show. So I like to start it with a non sequitur.
Oh, that's very...
That's them things you use for cutting dead heads off plants.
I thought it was,
Yes.
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 Yes. Particularly roses, thorny things.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
Pricky fingers. It's never good.
It's all a bit shallow, this, isn't it?
And you're on the live page.
Are we? Hey, well, hello, chat. It's nice to see you all here.
So is it going to be exciting, is it?
Well, it might be a bit intense.
Intense?
Or it might be a bit intense.
Right.
Because there's all kinds been happening this week.
Right.
Did you not see it on your iPad?
No. Did you put something on my iPad or?
Well, no. You've got to go and look for it occasionally.
Yeah, but if you send me a message, I will look for it.
Well, I did do. I've sent you messages and said go and have a look at this and come and sign up to that.
Well, it hasn't come up.
I bet it has. Well, we'll have to check it out.
All right.
Evening, Dilson. What? What can't you see that DD's blocking the view for? Well, that on the telly. I'll talk about that in the show. It's all right. Apparently, everybody's been watching Who Killed Cock Robin.
Don't tell them for the people that haven't.
Why would I tell them?
Because you like to mess with their heat.
No. I'm not going to finger Dot Cotton for the world to hear, am I?
No, I mean, it's not fair to blame
I mean,
everyone that you did it.
How are you?
Oh, it's a spring wine.
Who in their right mind would finger Dot Cotton? What you find? Spring Wine School. 8 classes from 8 individual wine merchants. Begins at 6:30 on Wednesday, 4th of March. You fancy that?
Well, can't.
Why?
I'm out.
Playing with your organ.
Yes, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm sure it is, yes.
There you
both
are,
of
the
us.
face of a closet organ player. Costello 2 says you're supposed to turn the iPad on, Keith.
It's on, and it indicates if you've got a message.
Well, only if you hear it.
No,
I mean, if a tree
comes
falls
up
over
on
it,
the icons.
Does it?
Yes,
Well, yeah, bugger.
I've worked that out,
Oh, yeah.
and there wasn't anything from you.
I bet there is. I bet I can find it, because I definitely know I sent it.
I think the last thing I had from you was January. So it would be in the message section, would it?
Yes.
Hang on about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. 10 minutes of
Right.
the minutes.
I'll have a look when I get in.
It's a hurdy-flirty-gurdy. What? I'm seeing all kinds of things going on here, but I've got no idea what they are.
I wouldn't worry.
What's point is worrying?
Ah, that's coming up like... Yeah,
What?
it's the same format, yes.
Yes. Oh, hi.
time,
Yeah,
thank you.
I've just got to remember to do the dinner.
You do.
Dinner. Fat man! No, it has been a bit of busy week this week.
You haven't been away, have you?
No, not yet. Going tomorrow.
Oh yes, to Liverpool.
The winners? Yeah, they all talk like that.
Yes.
It's great.
Have you been before
No.
to Liverpool?
No,
haven't
my passport's never been valid for that.
Something on the telly about it the other night. It's quite an attractive city now.
What is?
Liverpool.
Oh, no, going to Liverpool.
Well,
We're going to
on
the
the
Wirral,
outskirts, yes.
on the other side of the water.
Yes. Well, Jill said it was Liverpool, obviously,
Well-
geographically, loosely.
Pardon? Are you calling my wife
No.
loose?
No. A geography.
All right, yes. There's definitely no doubt about it. Did you just say chat go wee? Loads of people type things in. Up there. Can you say that all right?
Just.
Do you want to borrow me glasses?
Don't think it'll be any better than mine.
Tell you what, I can see them with my glasses on. Spiritus Vapes has said, watch your pockets in Scousland, DD. You see the size of me, SV. Come on, have you seen the size of us? Calm down, calm down.
Sorry, setting off in the morning?
Ish.
Oh, yes.
How are you, man?
Yeah, silly question.
Silly
really.
question. Daft idea. Morning. Good. We don't do mornings, do we, Sav?
No.
Mornings are not...
It's already been describing that.
No, you don't do mornings. Mornings are just not good.
No.
Very boring says he's not weighing in chat. I think it says chat. SV's apologised to any Liverpudlians in the house. He's an ex-Manchester... He's a monk.
Nice Latin name.
Spiritus Vapes.
Yes.
It's all alcohol. See what happens when you start reading chat? The programme suddenly just goes and you see pictures of...
Yes, you do.
Because you're having to look out of the bottom of your glasses.
No,
that's
no,
why.
I'm looking out the top of my glasses. Sod off with bloody seatbelts, will you?
Seatbelts?
Seatbelts. I don't wear a seatbelt. I've never worn a seatbelt. I refuse to wear those things that retract because they'll kill you. If it was a 5-point racing harness, I would wear it. But I'm not wearing one of those things because I don't want to die.
Well, what do you wear?
I don't. There's no point in that thing I've got. There's 49 airbags in that.
Well, that's irrelevant. It's a law. You've got to wear a seatbelt.
Bullshit, I don't care. It's not a sensible law.
Well, if you get stopped, it's your funeral.
Well, it won't be.
No,
Because I won't be wearing a seatbelt. I just don't do that.
Does Jill?
Yeah.
I thought you would.
Yeah. Like I said, if it was a full 5-point racing harness, I have no problem with that. They work, I know, for they have saved my life before. But those bloody retractable things, there's more people die because of them than lives are saved. And your airbags deploy way quicker than your seatbelt can stop you, and they don't kill you. They might smash your nose, but you'll never die with airbags. Not in that thing of mine, anyway. There's no way. It's not happening. Don't care. They can hang us up by me toenails. It's not happening.
Quite an unconventional line, but...
Well, it's not unconventional. The bottom line on it is, how does it benefit anybody but the driver to wear a seatbelt?
Yes, but it's the law.
No, I don't give a shit about it being the law. It's a stupid law. How does it benefit anybody else? I mean, what happens if they decide to ban e-cigs? Do you think I'm going to stop using them because it's the law?
I think that's different.
5 minutes.
Thank you.
I think that's different.
But it's not different. It's my choice. It's
What do you
personal
think,
choice.
Sav?
Well, I always wear a seatbelt.
Yes, quite.
I do.
Yes, and I would suspect 99.99%.
It's actually closer to 94%.
Is it?
Yes.
No.
When they came up with the seatbelt law, it happened on a given day. After that day, it was illegal not to wear one. You had to wear one by law.
Yes.
So it was very, very easy to get the statistics for the accident and emergency admissions due to road traffic accidents and fatalities, right?
Yes.
And had that been a sensible law, then you would have seen a massive drop the day after, because everybody then had to wear a seatbelt. You would have seen a massive drop.
Yes.
Because all of the road traffic incidents, I believe they're now called, would have not resulted in fatalities, whereas prior to that, had the law been sensible, they would have. And the fact of the matter is, they didn't change. If anything, fatalities went up.
Right.
And they've never changed since the law
Well,
came
it's
in.
something I haven't studied.
Well, I did. Because,
I mean,
you see, they made exemptions. For instance, if you were driving around in 1963 Anglia, prior to the seatbelt law, you didn't have to have seatbelts in. Because the law went in 2 stages. No law had to have seatbelt fitted, had to have seatbelts.
It came in the 60s,
Yeah, that's
it?
what I'm saying. In
60s.
1963 Ford Anglia, you didn't have to have seatbelts in, never mind wear them. So there was exemptions. It's the same as there's exemptions for skid lids. And it's either no exemptions or don't make a law. It's that simple. Stupid law. It's an example of stupid law making.
Got 3 minutes to book time.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Well, I've
Alright.
never noticed when I've been in with you that you haven't fastened your seatbelt.
Yep.
That was a lie. You actually have 2 minutes to book time.
Have I? You told me potty pies.
Did barefaced lie.
Have you become a disciple of glance?
Ha
Oh no. Neil Robinson says the counter argument is that people are driving more dangerously because the seatbelt makes them feel safer. And that also is true.
Oh,
I don't agree with it. I think it's down to people's own conscience what they do. Same with booze, toothpaste, kippers and Marmite.
yes.
There's no way you'll ever get me eating Marmite. I don't care what law they pass.
Why?
Why?
1 minute to
No,
book.
I've got Marmite.
It's horrible.
It isn't.
It is.
It's
Tea-
awesome.
It's disgusting.
Oh, I think
I
it's
couldn't get through a day without one.
toast and Marmite, nothing nice.
Right, chat.
Champion.
Chat. Marmite, yes. Marmite, no. You know what to do. Marmite, yes. Marmite, no. Please. Marmite, no. I'm Marmite, no. No Marmite. Yes, that was the other thing Leanna Lawless has said. If Clunk Click was good enough for Jimmy Savile, I want now to do with it.
Oh, God.
30 seconds.
Oh, dear. Marmite bloody
10
seatbelts.
seconds.
10 seconds to bug. Oh my God, look at all that lot. I hate yous all. Aside from the ones that said no, thank you, Kim Lauritsen and Keith Bro.
I can book up anytime.
Okie dokie. Bug on and bugger off. Here we
Look at
go.
all the yeses.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it? Hang on, I've lost my mouse. Right, back and tick.
SaveThe6.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
So there you are. We're here. It's Thursday night, as ever was.
Seatbelts and Marmite night.
Seatbelts and Marmite night. Oh yes, yes. I hate Marmite, and I'm not over keen on seatbelts either. Now tonight, I need to tell everybody this from the get-go. You know how when you go to a restaurant and you get one of these things where you go to the doodah and serve yourself?
Yes.
I've kind of done that with tonight's show.
All right.
So instead of just getting the one plate and putting 3 things on it like we normally do,
Yes.
I've got a tray and I've heaped it.
Right.
We've got shed loads of stuff to do. Some stuff may get dropped, other stuff might not. It's just going to be one of those nights. So there's going to be all kinds. We're going to be covering the news, which means tax on e-cigs potentially in the EU. I thought you'd like
Surprise,
that one.
surprise.
A bit from the Spectator, a very, very good bit from the Spectator, which I'm quite looking forward to. Actually, 2 pieces from there. What else we've got? Yes, Public Health England and its survey. These are 3 very important things that we need to cover. I've got the UK's cheapest DNA 40. I have got another interview with Fraser Cropper. I've got a rebuild on a Solara. I've got all bloody kinds going on, and news from Scotland as well. And stuff, so it's going to be
From
a packed.
Scotland, huh?
Yes, it is going to be what they call a packed show. So it'll be. There you go.
Lucky dip.
Aye, if we get there, we'll get there. If we don't, I've uploaded some stuff to YouTube just in case.
Right.
It's called Thinking Ahead. That's what it is. So we shall start with the titles, shall we not?
We're better.
We had better say hello,
Hello.
good evening,
Good evening.
and welcome to
The Haze Hour.
Yes, and here we are, live, as you can be, on Thursday the 19th of February in the year 2015 at, it says here, 21:03:02. That would be the time. So have you been watching the news and what have you, and what's been going on this week?
Quite a bit, yes.
Let's hit the first thing that's probably the most important. And it's not the one that's behind me. At the moment, it's the one that's going to be behind me now. Public Health England is doing a survey, and it's called the Policies and Practice on the Use of e-cigs in Enclosed Public Spaces Towards a Consensus. I shall shove it on the screen so you can see. There it is. This is a website. Now, if you've been on UK Vapors, you may have seen this there, and you may have seen it on other forums as well, because the whole idea behind all of this is that stakeholders get to get their say. And Public Health England wants to know what your opinion on all of this is. And it says, in the survey, we set out 5 draft principles for policies and practice in relation to the use of nicotine vaporisers, commonly known as e-cigarettes, in enclosed public places and workplaces, on which we invite comments and input. Our purpose is to encourage debate and build an evidence-based core consensus around this important issue. Following analysis of the feedback received, we will publish Public Health England's position and our framework advice to employers and other authorities. So you can see why this is very, very important for vapors. Because if you work or if you go to public places and you would like to use your e-cig there, then Public Health England needs to know what you think of the 5 policy areas that they've outlined. Now, the link for this will be going into chat, probably, possibly even during the course of the show. I'm saying probably and assuming things, and I shouldn't do, because I'm looking at Sav's face and she's going, no, because it's good that way. The link will go in. If you do, don't go and do it during the course of the show, because if you do that and they see the same timestamp, they might think I've talked you through it, and we don't want that. But every one of the points has a speaker for and a speaker against how we would want e-cigs, if you see what I mean. Some of them have already been shared up on Twitter. I would ask you please not to share them on Twitter or Facebook or anywhere else. Would you view them in the context of the consultation document? That way, people have got to go there and look at them, and they might be tempted to fill the consultation document in. Now, let's be absolutely right about all of this. This is Public Health England asking you, the vapor, what you feel. If you are not a member of a forum, then the organisation that you're part of, if you wish to be, is vaportrails.tv, so that people know where you've heard about it, I believe. And this is all good. So that's the first thing. That's the good news. We get to have our say. And I think that's good, don't you, Keith?
Excellent.
Now, I sent you a link to that in messages on your iPad. If it's not there, we'll sort it out.
Right, Jordan.
It works on iPad, it works on Mac OS, it works on Windows, it works on everything. You can see it on everything, and the videos are all hosted on YouTube, so you'll be able to see all of that. But when I tell you that the videos that are in agreement with what I think as vapers would like to see are extremely good, and the ones that aren't, they actually seem to drop themselves in it and show themselves, I feel, to be uneducated, ill-informed, misinformed and potentially disinformed, depending on which of the various different doctors they've been listening to. I think you know what I mean. Yes. So that's that. That's Public Health England, which is brilliant. That's the first thing I wanted to look at. Second thing I wanted to talk about, I think, was this whole notion of taxation of e-cigs. Now, I will refer you to Clive Bates's blog as ever, because Clive, being the chap that he is, has already covered this in some detail. He got sight of the same documentation as the Financial Times on the 18th of December, that would be yesterday then, or the day before, whenever it was, and he runs through the questions that are raised by the European Commission. Again, let's put that on screen for you. So as you know, that's at the counterfactual. And it's fiscal deaths ahead. European Commission wants to tax e-cigs. It's worth a read. It's worth a good read. I'm not going to read it out word for word because I do feel you need to go and have a look at this. But here's the thing. Right the way down at the bottom of that document, there is a paragraph which pretty much says MEPs have no say. This is a decision that is purely for the Council of Ministers. That is elected representatives in our parliaments. So it's UK parliamentarians, French, Spanish, German, whatever, but it's all the politicians that you vote for on your home soil that have a say in this. And that tells us exactly what we need to be doing. Yet again, we need to be going and talking to MPs and saying, right, we've seen this, it's come out of the Commission. I would strongly advise that you print off Clive's page because the information there is excellent and it says exactly how we should be countering all of these statements and questions that have been posed by the Commission. Go down and see your MP, or write to your MP, or email your MP and tell them you are not happy with this. That, because of the risk profile of e-cigs, they should not, in any circumstances, be taxed the same way as tobacco. In this move, the Commission has played its hand. It's put its hand on the table, cards face up, so you can see they've got a busted flush. This is them just chasing money. And when they ask the question of member states, are you suffering financial problems because of e-cigs? In other words, have people switched? Which means they know people have switched. Are you selling less tobacco? They know people are not using as much tobacco. They're not buying as many fags. They're using e-cigs, and now the buggers want to tax them to try and make up the revenue they're losing on fags. What do you make of that?
But it was inevitable, wasn't it? Inevitable.
Yeah, but it's not right.
Oh, of course it's not right. But it was inevitable it would happen.
Yes. It's a
and particularly at times of austerity, it'll make the incentive for governments to really want to latch onto it, won't they?
Are you saying they've timed it really nicely?
Well, timed it nicely is probably the wrong thing. All I'm saying is it was inevitable, particularly in current economic times, that it would happen. But even if we hadn't been in current economic times, it would have still happened, wouldn't it?
Well, you see, maybe I've got more faith in human nature, but I always took it that they would, from day one, and it has changed over the period. From day one, I thought these are, if you like, God's gift, heaven's gift. That's something for people with a long memory. Heaven's gift, and I couldn't see any way that they could possibly justify punitive taxation the way there's punitive taxation on cigarettes, because patently they're just nowhere near as damaging as they tell us cigarettes are. You've got government telling you ought to pack in, you ought to get off cigarettes because they're damaging and they cost us gazillions and bazillions.
Yes.
And then something comes along which apparently is doing that. It's got 2.1 million people that have reduced, 700,000 of which have completely ceased smoked tobacco consumption. That's got to be better. The figures are there, and that's just in the UK. And now the buggers want to turn around and say, actually, we're a bit skint because of that, so we're going to tax the arseholes off you.
Yes, but the outcome could well be that it'll be a lesser level of tax.
No. The documentation that they've put through suggests that there should be equality and parity.
Well, that's ridiculous,
Isn't
as
it?
you've just pointed out. Ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, you know, we're back to the same thing, the saving of lives. So, you know, the answer's obvious, isn't it?
Yes. Well, actually...
but that doesn't mean governments, of course, will see it that way.
Well, Neil Robinson's made a point there in chat, which is very good. It's incompetent financial planning to depend on a windfall income, especially when you've got departments that are doing their best to drive smoking rates down. You can't plan on having the income from lit tobacco when one hand's grabbing the money because people are using it and the other hand's trying to stop people from using it. It's kind of not really joined up thinking, is it? You know?
It isn't. No.
And then they'll turn around and say, well, if you get it, and this is the bit that really, really, really grinds my wick. You've got the MHRA trotting around with a big grin on their faces saying, well, of course, if you have your e-cig licensed as a medicine, it attracts no punitive taxation and indeed only attracts 5% VAT. Neglecting to mention that according to GSK, Johnson & Johnson and McNeil and various others, it's going to cost something like 20 billion and take something like 10 years to do a proper medicinal e-cig. How the hell do you get that back? I mean, this is just, it's mind-blowingly stupid, is what it is. So, again, this is what we need to do. We need to go and talk to our MPs and get them told that the Treasury needs to be politely reminded to wind its neck in when it goes through to the Council. Apparently there's a veto. One nation, one member state can veto the whole thing. Apparently that's there. So we need to go and talk to our MPs and say, right, look, we've heard about this, it's been leaked, it's coming up in Europe. The Council decides this is the situation. Please make sure it doesn't happen. When you consider that there's an election coming up, they're likely to be quite receptive to something like that.
Two subjects to talk to Bridget about them.
Oh, you and I are going to go and see Bridget. We're due to go and see her.
We are.
We are. But we'll take a flask of coffee this time because they didn't offer us any last time. It's a bit sad that. It's not good at all. Shall we move on to brighter things?
Well, there are brighter things.
There are brighter things, yes, and I'm going to move on to them now. Where are we at? Let's start with Damien Thompson's blog piece in The Spectator. Here it is on screen, which says, smoking kills, nicotine doesn't. A huge boost for campaigners who say e-cigs save lives. This is Damien Thompson at Holy Smoke on Twitter. Follow him, please. It says, Dr. Derek Yak has done more than any man alive to eradicate smoking. The former professor of global health at Yale, he developed the World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, now in effect in almost 180 countries. He has relentlessly drawn attention to the slippery tactics of the tobacco industry, which promotes its products while ostensibly lending its support to anti-smoking campaigns. But his article in today's Spectator Health breaks ranks with former colleagues in The Who, which disapproves of e-cigarettes and other vaping products. Their intransigence threatens the lives of millions, he argues. As matters stand, 1 billion people will die from smoking-related diseases by 2100. That's 9 o'clock. If that happens, the World Health Organization, the WHO, will bear some of the responsibility. But Yak goes further. His article accuses the WHO of allowing anti-vaping lobbyists to twist its arm. Here's the paragraph that will have anti-vapers hyperventilating this morning. And he's emphasised in bold. It says, why are we in this position? One reason is that governments have become addicted to tobacco excise tax and may fear that, as e-cigs take off, they will lose a valuable source of revenue. Excuse I. No shit, Sherlock! Many leading NGOs and academics exert strong influence at WHO within governments, in the media and among the general public. In the past, they helped bring tobacco control out of the shadows and into the mainstream of health policy. Now, alas, their intransigence threatens more profound progress. Now that I'm here to tell you, is a brilliant piece introducing what comes next, which is the piece itself by Derek Yak. I'm not going to play that bit of video at the top. What I'm going to tell you is this has been written, I feel, with one purpose in mind. It's not written for you, it's not written for me, it's not written for Keith, it's not written for anybody that's watching this video, because we already know. This is written from the point of view of a man whose bona fides, whose credentials even, in the World Health Organization, in the tobacco control arena, he was at the top of the tree. Ain't nobody higher in the world than Derek Yak was, because he was the man, and he's sticking it to the WHO and to a certain professor of aeronautical engineering and a certain EO in Australia and a certain bubblegum somewhere else. Three people who ought to be mightily ashamed of what they've done, and Yak sticks it to them. Go and have a read. There's a little bit of a controversy about it as far as vapors are concerned, because one or two people have picked up that you could understand that only big tobacco was involved in e-cigs if you didn't read it very carefully. But consider this. He is a man who has battled big tobacco mightily for many years. And even if it's only big tobacco making e-cigs, he still feels the same way about the anti-e-cig activists. That, I think, is the most powerful message.
Very significant.
Isn't it though?
Very significant.
What do you reckon to that?
Well, it's a coup, isn't it?
I think so. I think so. I'm well chuffed. That's kind of good news time, isn't it, really?
It is.
When you see things like that.
It is.
And do you know he's right as well in what he says, because over the last 3 years or so, we've seen a lot of movement, I think, in the stance of various people in positions of influence within the tobacco control movement with respect to e-cigs. None more so than what I am about to play in now. I'm looking at Sav and she's smiling, so we're all right, we're doing okay for time. Ish. I'm going to play this in... No, I'm not. I'm going to take some adverts because I've just seen the time, it's 20 past. Take a quick blast of adverts, and yes, I'm getting nodded at now. When we come back, I want to do this. I want to show you two people on telly who 3-4 years ago we would not have considered to have been singing from the right hymn sheet, and the change is remarkable. Back in 2 ticks. Remember, no more than 2 shakes or you're enjoying it too much. Back in 2.
SaveTheCigs.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
Often imitated, never duplicated. Award-winning service and products from cloud9vaping.co.uk.
Vapers, do you love discovering new e-liquids? Tell Dripper the types of flavours you like and they'll send you 5 gourmet juices each month. Experience new and exclusive flavours, all with a money-back guarantee and free delivery anywhere in Europe. Dripper.co.uk.
LP Vape, the UK purveyor of e-cigarettes and e-liquids. Proud sponsors of vaping entertainment on Vapor Trails TV.
Safercigs.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
And we're back in the room. I'm not going to waste any time because if I can get everything in, I want to get everything in. You've heard that said, haven't you?
Yes,
yeah.
Many times.
Oh God,
yeah.
How many times?
Well, by you?
No. Keith, please, let's not go there. Good grief.
No, of course not.
Smooth that brandy, isn't it?
Coke?
We're brandy in.
Well,
they all know you're a dipsomaniac.
Very pleasant.
Why, aye, Geordie lad, good drinking, good hard drinking lad that plays with his organ at every opportunity.
Oh, God.
Right, where are we at? Yes, Scotland. As you well know, the Scottish NHS has been, well, not the NHS, but the health boards, all bar one of them, have been, and I'm going to use an Australian term here, a set of dicks. They've decided that they're going to go, I mean, to some degree I get the no smoking because they've all been taken in by the woo, as it were. But they've decided to lump e-cigs in as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Yes, 13 out of the 14 of them are lumping e-cigs in. Lothian isn't. Lothian seems to be all right. But they've decided, well, look, I tell you what, I'll let the Scottish lady tell you. This is from the BBC. Doesn't take long to watch. But remember what I said. 4 years ago, there's a couple of ladies on here that you wouldn't have thought. We would never have predicted at that point in time that they would say what they said last night on Scotland 2015. Sit back, relax and enjoy.
Now, many people say they rely on them to stop smoking, and most experts agree that they are far safer than cigarettes. So why are patients and visitors being banned from using electronic cigarettes in hospital grounds? The Scottish Government has told NHS boards to ensure that they are smoke-free by April, but BBC Scotland has learned all but one health board intends to ban e-cigarettes as well, as our health correspondent Eleanor Bradford reports.
Smoking is already banned from hospitals and their grounds, but many people ignore the signs. From April, there will be a crackdown. But BBC Scotland has learned it's not just smokers who will be unwelcome. Electronic cigarettes, which deliver nicotine via a vapour and are intended to help smokers to quit, will also be banned nearly everywhere. None of the health boards we approached would speak to us today, but in a typical statement, the largest of them explained why vaping would be banned. NHS Greater Glasgow said currently e-cigarettes are not regulated and not licensed in the UK. They're quite new on the market, so there's still more to learn about their effects, and none are currently available on the NHS.
Here at Glasgow Royal Infirmary, amongst the mums-to-be alone, 1 in 3 smoke throughout their pregnancy. So what do people here think about the idea of banning not just smoking, but also vaping from hospital grounds?
Well, I suppose that's putting smoke into the atmosphere, albeit they say it's non-corrosive, but I don't think you should allow it.
Well, I don't really think that's fair. It's helping them to quit. So my mum uses the e-cig, so she does. But I don't know.
So if she came to hospital, she'd have a bit of a...
Oh, she's not allowed to use hers. She's just come into hospital this morning and been told she's not allowed to use her e-cig. So, and that's her been off at 7 months using that. So it has helped.
If it doesn't do anybody any harm, and it's giving some comfort to people who are trying to give up smoking, I'm okay with it.
Even the anti-smoking lobby think this may be going a bit far.
I can understand why they've made that decision because there are so many unknowns, but I regret it because I think tobacco is lethal. We know how dangerous it is. E-cigarettes are nothing like as dangerous, and for some smokers they're an acceptable alternative.
The only health board bucking the trend is NHS Lothian, which will allow e-cigarettes in designated areas. It told us, we do share the concerns of other health boards, but at the same time we need to ensure the success of our smoke-free policy in Lothian. We recognise that some people will need more help than others. The new ban is government policy and not legally enforced, so in reality vapers may do what the smokers do at the moment: ignore the signs.
Well, joining me now from our Edinburgh studio is Linda Bald, Professor of Health Policy at Stirling University and former Scientific Advisor on Tobacco Control for the UK Government. And in Dundee is Paul Ballard, who recently retired from his post as Deputy Director of Public Health at NHS Tayside, who were the first health board to ban smoking on NHS grounds. Thank you both very much for joining us. Linda Bald, tell us first on the science of this. Is there any evidence that the vapour from e-cigarettes is harmful to people passing by, that there's any passive smoking effect from e-cigarettes?
No, so far the evidence we have is that e-cigarettes are far safer, far less risky than tobacco cigarettes. In relation to the vapour in particular, we can be confident that short-term exposure to that vapour is not harmful. So there really aren't any health or scientific grounds for banning e-cigarette use either outdoors in NHS grounds or indeed indoors on health grounds.
So Paul Ballard, why do you think all bar one of the health boards in Scotland have decided that even when you're standing outside the hospital you can't be using an e-cigarette?
Well, I think all the doctors and researchers and scientists in 13 of the health boards have reviewed the evidence available regarding e-cigarettes and have come to the conclusion that there's still sufficient concerns to mean that they should be treated like any other nicotine product and therefore banned in the grounds, just like cigarettes. I mean, I think it's really important to stress that health boards serve the local people in their area, and they have a really important duty of care to make sure that they keep them safe from anything that they judge to be still unsafe at this stage.
It's not true that they're banning all nicotine products. Nobody stops you from wearing a nicotine patch when you're in a car park or even in the hospital itself.
No, I mean in terms of visible products. That is cigarettes, cigars, pipes, and of course e-cigarettes.
But Linda Bald, if you come in here, do you see e-cigarettes as more akin to a nicotine patch than to a cigarette itself?
Absolutely. So I chaired the NICE Guidance Development Group that produced the guidance on tobacco harm reduction. We were focusing particularly on smokers who find it difficult to stop smoking and maybe have tried with the nicotine products like nicotine patches, etc. E-cigarettes for them are a really useful, viable alternative. They contain nicotine, but they don't contain the 4,000 other chemicals that tobacco does. And so I would say that they are potentially a valuable tool out of smoking for many people. And I think what concerns me about this proposed restriction is that the NHS, as Paul said, has a duty of care to its patients and to its staff. It also has a duty to help them to move away from tobacco, which is a uniquely deadly product. And I think we should be doing everything we can to encourage people to use something else, including e-cigarettes, to do that, even when they're in hospital.
Paul Ballard?
Yes, as I stressed before, there's another school of thought which is adhered to by 13 of the health boards and indeed other bodies like the BMJ and even the Medicines Regulations Agency themselves, which are still sufficiently unsure of this product as to advise caution, and indeed from the evidence the boards have seen, this is why they have decided to treat this the way they have. But I think there's another really important point here. If we're going to meet the government targets to bring Scotland's smoking rate down to 5% by 2034, we will have to prevent the recruitment of young people to smoking. And there's considerable concern that young people who are not smokers, when you look around them and see other people smoking or using e-cigarettes, which look just like cigarettes, and will start to use these e-cigarettes thinking they are safe, but they will in fact become addicted to nicotine. And the real concern after that is that those young people will then move on to cigarettes themselves. And a lot of viable work that we've been undertaking over the years will start to be undermined by this unfortunate situation.
Linda Ball, do you think e-cigarettes are going to make more people smoke or help people to give up?
So I've been monitoring all the surveys and studies on youth uptake across the world, and we've just published a review for Public Health England. 2 points I'd make on that. The first thing is that young people experiment, and we are seeing more young people trying e-cigarettes. But in Scotland at the moment, amongst never smoking young people, only 1% of those had really tried an e-cigarette and were using it with any regularity. So we're not seeing that happening. Where I will start to become concerned is if I see tobacco smoking rates increasing in young people in Scotland as e-cigarette rates of use go up, and we're just not seeing that at the moment. But I think just to come back to the NHS grounds issue, this issue of banning them on NHS grounds is not about children potentially experimenting with e-cigarettes. This is about trying to discourage people from using something which, I just wanted to emphasise what I said before, is potentially a valuable cessation aid. I just really think it's very unfortunate the NHS has decided to do this. And I would also say that the Scottish Government, I know in their advice to NHS boards, was not to include e-cigarettes in their smoke-free grounds policy. So I really don't understand where this has come from.
All right, well, we'll have to leave it there. Linda Ball, Paul Ballard, thank you both very much for talking to us tonight. Now,
yes.
I'd assume that must have come directly from the government.
Oh, no. No, it's not the Scottish Government that's done this. It's the NHS boards that have been swayed by, well, not evidence, obviously. They've been swayed by propaganda. And I just wonder where that's come from.
You see, that guy was talking nonsense.
Yes. Complete, total and utter bollocks, in fact, was what he was talking.
It was interesting that the news devoted so much time to those interviews, wasn't it?
Well, it's quite important.
Well, it's very important.
And BBC Scotland has actually recognised the importance of that and devoted, what was it, nearly 10 minutes
10 minutes.
And then to get... I don't know whether the producers and editors of that particular piece had hunted around to find the biggest numpty, or whether he's representative of the numpties. I think he's representative of the numpties, frankly. And put him up against one of the most eloquent,
very articulate.
I mean, that slap down.
Yes, it was.
It was almost, look, stop talking shite, you silly man.
Yeah.
These things are good, don't be an asshole. I love Linda Ball for doing that.
And she did it very calmly and, as I say, articulately.
Yes. And what I feel I want to say a very big thank you both to Linda Bold and to Sheila Duffy for doing the work they did yesterday up in Scotland. I think it was fantastic. The fact that the hymn sheet was properly sung off and they got it absolutely right, and they have slapped down all of the people that have been trying to push this through. And I've had an idea. Well, I haven't had an idea. Let's just say an idea has been implanted into my brain.
So what's the position in England? Is there a declared policy there?
No, that's what the PHE was. That's what that survey is about, that Public Health England is doing.
That covers also specifically hospital grounds.
Every public place. You see, once that's sorted out, once that's been analysed and all of the data pulled together and everything sorted out, then they're going to be saying to the health boards, to businesses, to councils, to everybody else, this is the policy you should be following. But I've had an idea about Scotland. Do you remember what she said? That it's not legal. It's not a law that's being made.
Yes.
I'm going to ask vapers in Scotland to do me a favour and let me know if you're going to do it and when you're going to do it. I think great gaggles of vapers should gather just inside the entrance to the grounds of various hospitals in the NHS boards areas that have decided that they're going to implement this prior to it, so you don't get arrested, but maybe it's only a day or two. and kick a vape up. Get a few clout chasers around the place and give it some laldy, I believe is the phrase. And it would be a good idea as well, if you were going to do that, to get some, well-informed academics and well-informed public health people there alongside you, and get the newspapers and the TV stations and the radio stations involved as well. It needs one in each of the health board areas, one hospital, one meet-up, and a few vapors there with a few placards saying this is ridiculous, e-cigs saves lives. And might be not a bad idea to print the Derek Yak piece out from the Spectator and hand that out to anybody that happens to be interested, because that says it all. Do you not think?
Yeah.
So it's just an idea. They said it was due to happen on April the 1st or the 5th, I can't remember.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
I think the weekend before it's due to happen would be a good time to do it. All in favour say aye.
Just reminds me, I was vaping in the grounds of a hospital only last week.
Were you?
Yes.
Good for you. Did anybody pull you up and say out?
No. After sitting for 2 hours in the hospital, I was desperate when I came out, so without thinking about it, and the grounds were quite extensive.
Well, they all are. I mean, quite honestly, if you were stood, you just got to look at Sunderland General. Speaking of mess of things, you just got to look at Sunderland General. I mean, the gateway entrance.
Yes.
Is like 150 yards from the nearest building. This is a bloody huge grit car park between the road and the hospital itself. Yeah. They've whacked the speed limit down to 5 miles an hour.
Yes.
So your carpet van that you're taking your wife who's pregnant to hospital in is chugging all the diesel fumes out of the back at 5 miles an hour instead of getting there sharpish.
Now, how did you know what I was doing in the hospital?
You haven't, have you? You dirty bugger. Did Vicky know?
Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
That was the wife or the girlfriend?
Girlfriend.
Oh, that's all right. As long as it wasn't a wife. That would just be too much. I'm not changing nappies for you, and I'm not bloody babysitting either.
Oh, right on. You know where your friends are.
I thought it was just you playing with your No, but the thing about... oh, Dad, that's just put a picture in your head I didn't want. Sam, have you got the mind bleach handy, please?
What?
Sorry, just drank it all.
No, what I was saying was, there's car parking spaces for, I think, 1,500 vehicles outside Sunderland General Hospital.
Yes, they've just built a new one as well.
Yes. So all the crap they're going to be kicking out, one bloke with a fag or an e-cig, what difference is that going to make? Bloody idiocy. Ideology gone absolutely
You do
cracks.
see them in their sort of night attire and their drip stands standing outside the main entrance with cigarettes.
Well, yes, because, again, look, I mean, right. All of this is supposed to be about making you better, right?
Yes.
And I don't see how, if you go in with a broken arm or a broken leg, or half your arse hanging off, or any of the other things that you can go in with, I don't see how it makes a heap of a difference to your recovery time or your healing or anything like that. In fact, if they're sending you outside because you either vape or smoke, either one, I don't care which one, if they're sending you outside, they're putting you more in harm's way than if they put a little room together in a quadrangle and whatever, and if they actually thought about it and did something for the people that they're supposed to be serving in those respects. I mean, what are they going to do?
I remember when I was in my 20s, you were actually given an ashtray on your bedside table.
I had two, one on either side.
And the only time you couldn't smoke is if the doctor was coming round.
Unless he sparked up.
Well, yes.
My consultant did in '79 when I was in the hospital. Ah. But yeah, I had 2 ashtrays. And a bottle of whiskey, and a slab of beer, and a curry every night.
Yes.
And there were some nice nurses as well. That red-headed one was...
Yes.
Right. Oh dear, did you see the big sigh there coming from Sam? Oh. Nurses, I don't know. It's 22. It's time for the advertisement.
It is, yes.
Right, we'll take the adverts. I didn't even start to read chat because I saw it going, "Shwing," and there was some words in there that I recognised. See, look. There you are.
I can hardly read it.
Somebody's saying, were you in hospital in the 20s? No, it was 20 years ago.
I should bring the organ glasses. I might be able to see that.
I'm going to put you full screen and say that again.
What?
The question I want to know is, do you need glasses to see your organ?
Yeah.
Adverts.
Safer6.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
RY4 Radio.
Joytech UK are proud sponsors of vapetrails.tv.
Safer6.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
We shouldn't read chat. We just.
Well, all I was saying is I can't read it properly, but I've got special glasses. That's all I was trying to say.
Well,
I think I'll just stop interjecting with what I see as constructive comments.
You just stop what?
Interjecting.
Do you need your glasses on for that? No. For those
have
of
the
you,
adverts finished?
Yes, they have.
Oh my.
For those of you watching video on demand, I'm going to try and find a way to make chat as it has just appeared for the last 3 minutes available to you, because I'm wetting myself here. Let's just say Lal's been talking about a mouth organ at which apparently she sucked. And let's just go no further on that one, shall we?
But you blow them, don't you?
Right, no.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Serious. Right.
I'll bring them next week so I can read it properly.
What, your organ glasses?
Yes.
Well, you reckon you need it for the distance, so you can see your organ properly because it's too far away?
The music stands.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Because it's so big.
Okay.
Oh, right, yes.
Right, now, while we were in the adverts, I have been informed that people are quite keen on the idea of this vaping at hospital premises.
Right.
Let's do it, shall we? Shall we do this? Shall we do this? Yes, let's do this. Let's do this in Scotland. Let's identify those 13 health boards and do this the weekend before the e-cig ban is due to come in. I think we should probably tell them we're going to do it as well. We need to tell the televisions and the papers and people like that and get people involved in it. And it's been suggested in chat that we turn up in dressing gowns. I think not just dressing gowns, just in case. Because if it's a windy day...
Or wet.
Or wet. And Keith's got his organ glasses, would just be in deep trouble. In deep trouble. So yes, I think it's a great idea. Let's do this. Let's do this. Weekend before the ban is due to come in, that's April, so we've got 6 weeks or so to get it sorted out. Scotland, if people fancy, a great place to visit. It's a lovely place to go for the weekend. Let's get every vaper in England up into Scotland, and we'll go and visit all these various different authorities and vape. And we can take things like these Teslas, 120 watt Teslas, and you know, get big dripping atties like this one and give it some.
Give it some. Yes.
We'll go and do that. Blah vapour everywhere. It'll be Coco Van Dabulous. And we'll be able to prove as well, especially those of us that have been round a while, that actually vaping is not harmful. That nobody's died. Now, when Sav and I went across to Totally Wicked, we left the cameras running after we'd done the actual interview, and I've pulled some footage out because I was sitting talking with Fraser Cropper, and we talked about all sorts of stuff. So I've got a short series. We were talking for about 3/4 of an hour or something like that. So I've got a short series of bits of conversation that were going on that I thought might interest you. It's surprising how eloquent and intelligent this man is. I'd love you to have a listen. Eavesdrop while Fraser and I have a natter.
Continually being told, of course, that the products are dangerous and there's a risk that needs to be mitigated. Well, there's a wonderful statistically deep pool of users here. There's 10-15 million users in Europe.
Yes.
And we know the potential of what would have happened to those if they continued to smoke. So we know what would have been scenario. And the what is scenario is different. It's a much more positive scenario. But if there had been 5, 10, 1, a small cluster of people who had been adversely affected by e-cigarettes, then we would have known about it, because all those people who are the naysayers and the scaremongers would have loved to have that poster boy. It'd be like that, a bad analogy potentially, the Area 51 Martian. The aliens exist, vaping kills.
Yes.
But there's not that person, it doesn't exist. And if we had only 50 vapors in the community, then you could understand why it was not statistically reliable. But there's 50 million vapors, at least, and growing by thousands each day, probably. But there aren't those occurrences. There are some tragic examples of accidents.
Yes.
Babies ingesting nicotine, dogs biting bosses and dying of nicotine overdose, people killing themselves with nicotine intentionally. But people who, through normal usage, have insidiously adversely affected their health, was the examples. They don't exist.
Well, we were talking to Bernd Meyer on Monday night, Professor Bernd Meyer. Now, he's not actually in the nicotine field. He's not in the smoking field. He's a cardiologist.
Yeah.
But he's the guy that came up with the revised LD50, if you want to call it that, for nicotine. And as he said, being very, very conservative, it's between 500 milligrams and a gram for an adult. And he was saying on Monday that the only recorded incident he can find of somebody dying accidentally through the ingestion of nicotine, i.e. not trying to commit suicide, was a gardener who was using a nicotine pesticide that had been diluted at 80%.
Wow. He was inhaling that as he was spraying it?
Well, he was spraying it around in a greenhouse, so of course the atmosphere is...
Yeah. People have passed out as well.
I'd have loved to have walked through it. Yeah, he must have passed out in it and just basically, he'll have absorbed through the skin, he'll have absorbed buccally, he'll have absorbed through the lung, through the eyes, everywhere. Every soft entrance would have been catered for. But that still took all day to kill him. And that's the only recorded incident that Professor Meyer was able to find. And yeah, we hear about the odd exploding battery, but I spoke to some fire persons earlier on this week when they came to do the smoke alarm thing, because we get free smoke alarms where we're at, which is nice. And they said, you're not a smoker, so that's fine, you'll not set this off. And I did. We had to do the test, so everybody...
vaping those things?
Actually, it was my darling wife who took a mouth inhale and puffed it gently at it, and it went off. So if you're in the loo on a plane, don't chance it, it's the same one. Hypersensitive. But they were saying they get as many fires, well, more fires from phone batteries, especially the ones that are able to be replaced, because people will not use the correct charging regime.
Well, we've seen that as well with these bad news stories. One implicated ourselves, the Daily Mail, 6-7 months ago, and there's a desire for there to be a relationship between e-cigarette batteries and explosions, when actually it's lithium-ion cells. It's the fundamental of how the chemistry is applied to a device, which is the issue. Whether you've got a model helicopter, a mobile phone, an aircraft in an A380 battery, or an e-cigarette battery, they fundamentally work on the same chemistry. They have the same latent challenges.
Yes.
We don't need to picture frame, or pigeonhole, should I say. The e-cigarette battery is a unique device. It's got the same propensity to danger, and it's got the same responsibility to care for it as a helicopter battery or an iPhone battery. So we're very resistant to allowing our batteries in the round for e-cigarettes, to be considered as something unique, because actually they are unique but actually ubiquitous. They're unique because they're lithium-ion, but they're ubiquitous because they are available all over. They're all our household devices, and you've got to treat them with respect.
Yes, they're absolutely everywhere. I can't think of a household currently that will not have lithium-ion batteries all over the place. You look at your tablets, you look at your phones, you look at your toothbrush these days. Even though Duncan Bannatyne thinks that toothbrushes don't have batteries in.
Now, what's that?
That made me laugh. That really did.
It dawned upon him 5 seconds after he said it, I think.
Yeah, he still wasn't going to have it though. But
he didn't respond, so he recognised he was.
No, he and I
outed.
We're not best friends. He and I don't like the man.
He's like e-cigarettes, does he?
He doesn't like nicotine at all. He thinks anybody that uses an e-cig or uses gum or patches or any form of NRT is weak. Interestingly, he's never offered to meet me in the pub and say that to me face.
Well, there was that chap who said e-cigarettes are fey. Somebody said the fey.
Fey?
Yes. If you want to smoke, then I think it was. I think I had an interview with him on Radio 4 about a year and a half ago.
Oh,
a bombastic one.
What's his name? I know the guy you mean.
I'm sure I might be paraphrasing incorrectly, but I'm sure he said they were fey.
I'm pretty sure he did. Yes, fey was the word.
It's a nice word, I think, inappropriate mind.
Completely inappropriate. It's anything but. I've always thought that. I mean, you know, I'm fairly libertarian anyway, and as far as I'm concerned, if somebody wants to smoke, that's fine. I still have ashtrays in my house, although I haven't touched a fag in almost 6 years. The ashtrays are still there. We've had film crews come round, and you see them rolling up and say, "I'm just going to nip outside." He's piddling it down, there's an ashtray in. You know, I've got no problem with that at all, because I don't believe the second-hand smoke argument for 1 second. People of our generation were brought up in effectively smoky shafts. We had coal fires. Year I was born, smoking prevalence in the UK was in the order of 87%. It's pretty high.
Was it?
1955, 87%. Wow. It was fairly closely post-war. People were pretty traumatised. And during the war, almost 100% of adults smoked. There were very few who didn't. So it dropped to 85% by 1955. By 1973, when NRT, the first NRT got its licence, smoking prevalence in the UK was 42%, there or thereabouts. So it halved in the 18 years. Since then, it's halved again, but it's taken an awful lot longer. 40 years for it to halve again.
It's a resilient base, I think, that 20%, is it? It's below 20% now, but it's been a very resilient, very resistive base to change.
I think the more people get kind of lambasted and lectured and put upon, the less likely they are to accede to the requests from on high.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that if in 18 years half of the people that were smoking, and they couldn't have all died in that period of time, if half of them had packed in without any help, no NRT, no stop smoking services, none of that existed at all, and yet half of them packed in. They just did.
I'm one of those.
Yeah. Well, my granddad did. 20 years he didn't smoke.
You went back to them?
Yeah.
Very wise.
Well, as he pointed out, he got to 70.
He would have forgotten about that, wouldn't he? 20 years?
Well,
I've forgotten what it was like to smoke.
I don't think he ever did, no. 20 years he went with that. He was a miner, so for all of his working time he couldn't smoke. So he could only smoke when he wasn't working and wasn't sleeping, which left a very small part of the day, really, 8 hours I suppose. But he got to 70 and his generation had a life expectancy, he always thought, of 70 years and 10. When you're 70 years and 10 is up, that's you.
So if there was on borrowed time, might as well smoke again.
So he got to 70 and he got a cold. And an old friend of his says, "You want a fag, that'll put that right." And my granddad, just out of daftness, had a fag. And lo and behold, it's going to sound awful, coughed his guts up, and that was him sorted. He needed to clear his chest, and that was what happened, and that was fine. So he decided he'd carry on. And far from shortening his life, he was 93 when he died. 93. And smoked all of his life, bar those 20 years. And
but there's no doubt, Dave, it's a bad habit. It's a bad habit.
Well, it is. I mean, you know...
I'm better for not smoking. I know. I've lived in both parts of that spectrum. I smoked for the best part of 25 years. I started when I was a very young boy, embarrassingly young, from a smoking family.
How embarrassingly young?
Short pants young.
Come on, how was it?
I used to borrow, steal my mother's sovereign cigarettes from my brother when I must have been less than 10, because it was a house that I moved from when I was 10, my brother and I. So yes, single digits, smoked all the way through my teens and through my naval career, and I stopped about 13 years ago. Really difficult for me, and I'm way better for not smoking. No, I am. Physically, I'm a lot better. It's not a good habit, and I would hate for my children to smoke again. I wouldn't openly advocate them vaping, but if they wanted to vape in preference to smoking, clearly would I be on my bed and knee if that was the option I was presented with.
I think if you asked any parent, that would be the reply.
It would be. You have to be. Ridiculous not to. I'd rather. There's no need to be addicted to anything. An addiction-free lifestyle surely is, as long as you're happy and content, then there's no need to bring addictions into your life, is there? If you're happy and content, if that's what you want, if that's what gives you pleasure, then so be it.
That's a question that we'd probably talk about for months and months and months, never mind minutes and hours. Because I've looked at addiction from all sides, being a reformed...
It's a loose definition as well, though, Dave.
It's very, very loose, and it generally means that I understand addiction, true addiction, to be something which alters body chemistry such that you cannot survive without it. And we're starting to talk in terms of heroin and the heavy opiates and various other stuff like that you cannot just stop cold turkey without doing yourself physical damage. And the same applies to someone who's an extreme alcoholic, if you like. To just cut that cold turkey, you cease to function.
And it's the sole focus for the day, for their life. It's the one thing, the only thing.
Yes. But addiction now is being understood to be something that promotes the release of endorphins, that promotes enjoyment. And because that becomes, I'm not even going to say habitual, but you seek that enjoyment, or you seek the release.
It's more associative, isn't it?
Yes. And on that basis...
And it doesn't have to be detrimental. Drinking heavily and opiates detrimental, clearly, not only to your long-term health, but also to the ability for you to live a balanced life.
Yes.
And you can smoke, drink coffee, and use alcohol and still have a balanced life.
You can.
It's maybe on the same spectrum, technically called it addiction, but of course it's a wide panoply of how it affects people.
And I think it's a term that's been misappropriated and is used pejoratively now.
So I agree with you when it comes to nicotine, that it is benign. There's nothing to equivocate about it. It's benign, isn't it? We know it is.
Yeah. I mean, I've got two grandsons, one's very new, and if when they're 13 and 14 I get a whiff of tobacco around them, I shall be taking them into the office where the currently 120 odd, probably by then, I don't know how many thousands of e-cigs there'll be, and it'll be, pick the one you like, pick the juice you like, that's where you go.
I think children's attitudes have changed though. I think if I speak to my children about tobacco smoking, as I have, they think it's a ridiculous concept. Why would you ever? I think there's a lot more awareness, a lot more peer group pressure, positive peer group pressure that now exists in certain children's influence, and not all children's influences.
Yes.
Unfortunately, my children's influence, I think, are more positive than some potentially other children are exposed to. Because of I've been educated and where they live. I was brought up in Blackburn and my influences were different to what my children are now fortunate to have. But that's a very positive influence, and I don't think their peer group would ever countenance think about smoking because it's ridiculous to them.
I think it varies throughout the country. Certainly in my part of the world, there are still great gaggles of youngsters who gather together and take the oldest looking one into the shop to go and buy a pack of 20s.
So as we did.
Of course we did.
It's not right or wrong, it's just as it is, it's just a fact.
Yeah. People try everything. Even Professor Glantz has now acknowledged that the more adult you make something, the more likely youth are to try it because they want to grow up.
They do.
And he's finally acknowledged that. He just needs now to acknowledge everything else that we've been telling him for the last 4 years, and he might find it. There you go, that was me talking to Fraser Cropper. Now, I know we're over, I've just been told by Sav we're over, and I know I'm going to get a kicking for this, but it has to be done. This is going to be a 30-second overview of the cheapest DNA 40 mod in the UK. Are you timing us? You're timing us, Sav?
I am now.
Right,
here we
30 seconds.
30 seconds, here we go. Boink. Where is it? That's the one. There you go, this is it. It's the H-cigar DNA 40. It has got in it a real proper DNA 40 from Evolve. I've had the lid off and I'll show you. It's magnetic backed, that's where the battery goes. The DNA 40 itself fits in there, and look, you can see it's a real one. I've checked it out. Pretty much that's all you need to know about the insides. Sod that, leave it out. Put the battery back in, David. This is reviewing by the seat of your pants, isn't it? Magnetic, fits on, dead easy like that. The display is on the front, the button is on the front, it sits nicely under the thumb. I've been using it all day and it works. That's all you need to know. $89.99, less than 30 seconds for an overview. Does that get a round of applause?
45 seconds.
Oh, shut up. Bloody hell. Right, I'm going to have more of conversation with Fraser Cropper as time goes by. I think I've got about another 20 minutes of it, and I'll chop it into 10-minute slices because we changed topics a couple of times. That has been the Haze Hour.
And it's flown.
It has shot by.
Definitely.
Now, you need to know that Duncan Bannatyne He's on.
I think he's on question.
He is
time
on question
tonight.
time from Stockton. I wish I'd been able to get down there because I'd love to ask him why he is such an absolute.
SaferCigs.co.uk, sponsors of the Haze Hour.
Vape on, vape hard, and don't let the bastards cut you off.
Cut you off.
See you next time. Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.
I enjoyed that.